Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Be me. Underage. I want to start blacksmithing. Don't have a shop. Go find and talk to a blacksmith that's relatively close to my house. He has a shop and uses it to fix people's tools and to change horses' horseshoes. I have access to cheap booze. Don't ask. Offer to give him some booze in exchange for letting me use his shop. He's a drunkard, so he agrees. Go there. The place is torn. The jankiest blacksmithing shop you could ever imagine. Except for a grinder, an electric air blower, a welder, and a bunch of partially stripped wires on the floor. Power wires for whatever shit needed it, and one single light bulb on the ceiling. Everything looks like a combination between a bum's tent and a medieval shop. There's half of a tractor tire outside with water in it, which he uses for quenching. Whatever. If it works, it works. Go in and get started while the owner goes back inside his house. Go start the fire. Put some tinder in and cover it with coals. There's a Coca-Cola bottle on the table nearby, with a yellow liquid in it. Open it. It's gasoline. Pour some on the coals, and then try to light it up. The lighter doesn't work. Call for the owner. He comes out of the house, asks me what I want. Tell him. He mumbles something and goes back in. 5 minutes later, he stumbles out and goes into the shop. Follow him. He grabs the Coca-Cola bottle. There's no need, I already poured some. He doesn't hear. He dumps like half of it on the coals. Splashes everywhere. Somehow manages to not get it on himself. He takes a box of matches from his pocket. Oh no, waff. He lights a match and tries to light the fire up. Whoosh. The thing goes up in flames. All the splash spots are now burning. There's small fires on the ground, on the anvil, on the table, on the wires. The bottle is on fire too. I don't even know what to do. Owner is completely fucking unfazed. He finds an empty paint bucket and goes outside. Dips it in the tire. Goes in and starts throwing water on the burning gas. The room is filled with thick smoke, so he doesn't really see. Water goes everywhere. Sometimes on the fire. It also lands on the wires. They start sparking like crazy and catch on fire too. The owner stumbles out and gasps for air. Find a shovel and start digging out the dirt path in front of the shop. Throw the dirt on the fires. The fire gets put out. Thankfully, the damage is minimal, except for some toasty wires. It was mostly the gas that burnt. The owner looks around, shrugs, and goes back in the house. I scratch my head and wonder what the fuck just happened. Pack my shit and leave. I remembered to get a working lighter the next time I went there.
Have a temp employee under my wing. He is a fucking idiot. Bait him into bringing marijuana to the job site. Rat him out to management. He is fired. I move into management a year later.
Be me. Get a job as a swamper on a truck delivering ductwork to new buildings. Work on the truck for a couple months. Be a well-liked new guy. Get offered a job in a sheet metal shop when the position opens up. The Smiths want to train me in as a new apprentice. Start doing sheet metal for ducts. Be absolute shit at it. Smiths like me and tell me not to worry and go slow and do it right. Still fuck up the measurements. Installers out on site cannot install ductwork properly because the seams are all shit. They start losing money fixing my mistakes on site, because they are all paid piecework. This starts a rift between all the installers and Smiths in the shop. People glaring at me at lunchtime because they can only make half per day. Start working harder, longer, through pain. Develop carpal tunnel syndrome. One day, an installer comes into the shop midday, carrying a 16 section of wonky ductwork, raging at the foreman about my shitty work. The foreman calls everyone in the shop to take a knee, and we have a 15-minute meeting about how I'm slowing everybody down, costing the show money, and I need to do better. Finish the remaining 2 hours in the day barely able to hold it together. Go home, not sleep, cringing at myself. Get up the next day at 6 a.m., cry in the shower and all through getting dressed, drive halfway to the shop, then turn around and go back home. Call in the foreman and quit. Worst 2 months of my life, boys.
One of those little funny coincidence stories. Work at a peanut processing plant. I do quality control and am also responsible for the sizing machines. Machines are old as fuck and break all the time, but are easy to fix. The most common failures are broken stretched belts and a worn connection piece that is a simple drop-in part. Training a kid on these simple repairs. While examining the belts on a machine, he asks a sort of dumb question.
What would happen if you got your finger caught under the belt?
Machines turn with a lot of force, the belts are very thick, and the grooves very deep. Tell him it would definitely cut or tear that MF off, so don't fuck with it. Kid gets fired like 2 days later for being dumb enough to take a picture of a Bud Light at the plant, put it on Facebook, and caption it having a beer at work. A week later, his mother, who worked in the adjacent department, got her fingers caught in a belt and it cut 2 of them off. Was there to see it, shit was nasty. Smarts don't run in the family, I guess.
A few weeks ago, doing heating, ventilation, and air conditioning inspections. Exhaust system not working in retail space. Run up to the roof to check the fan. No power. General contractor says the breaker is off, but he doesn't know which one it is. Tells me to stay on the phone on the roof and he'll start flipping breakers to see which one it is. Waiting on the roof next to the fan. It suddenly blows up, sparks and smoke and shit everywhere. Screaming at him on the phone to turn it off. The electrician only installed it halfway and didn't tell anyone that he wasn't done. Walk off without saying anything to the general contractor. Another one. College internship at an aerospace firm. Doing hush-hush materials research. But it's a bunch of packies that run the company, so they cut every corner they can. Instead of getting a real fume hood for work, they make me use a shitty pick-related inflatable glove bag. Do your work inside while argon gets pumped through. Except this bag has a leak. Mixing some powdered titanium samples in metal containers. Drop a steel lid onto a steel jar. It sparks. Titanium powder lights up with my hands inside the bag. I try to yank them out of instinct. End up spilling more powder and whole bag turns into fucking Hindenburg with my hands in it. Trying to sling it off but just spraying melted plastic all over the lab. Finally get my hands out. Little burns all over but nothing major. The owner of the company is livid until he realizes how badly I can sue them. Takes me out to dinner and convinces me not to sue them. I'm young and dumb, so I let it slide.
At a place I worked a few years before I was there, dude gets a job at a sheet metal stamping place. He finds out his kid wasn't his. Decides to hero. Goes under a 400-ton press. Tries to lower it on himself. Used inch mode and not cycle mode because he's a dumbass and didn't know the difference. This means that the press was slowly lowering towards him. Someone manages to kick the controller out of the way to stop the machine. Owner decided to not press charges, but fired him. Dude who saved him gets nightmares of him tripping on the way to save him. My story from there. Doing tile removal in the bathroom so it can be remodeled. Supervisor gives me a shitty homemade chisel made of mild steel and poorly welded. It gets dull. I decided to sharpen it. Use a disc sander, use the wrong side like a dumbass, and pinches my thumb between the chisel and the disc. Lost my thumbnail, needed 3 stitches, and Novocaine didn't work on me.
Pulling out the old oven to replace. Decide to take the removable doors off to make it lighter and easier to move. Attempt to remove one of the doors while it's open. As it pulls away, the hinge spring snaps back up straight into my thumb. Blasts the end of my thumb into 3 even pieces. Splits the nail right down the middle. Gets about a 1/2 inch deep. Blood gushing everywhere. Bandage it up and finish the job anyway. Somehow a month later it completely healed and you can't even tell. Nail didn't even die.
Installing some baffles and a control unit on a large HVAC unit in some school we're helping construct. Supervisor in the server room running conduit. Turn off breakers. Walk out breakers. Go up the ladder to the 2nd level and get to work. Installing a control unit. The position is kind of awkward and I have to brace myself against the unit with my elbows. As soon as both elbows touch the side of the unit, I get the holy fuck shocked out of me and blown backwards into a heap on the ground. The supervisor comes up the ladder and sees me and starts freaking out. Apparently someone cut my lockout tags. Thought the supervisor was going to kill someone. Probably would have if he found out who did it. Took the rest of the week off.
Working at Kroger. Cardboard baler gets full. Fuck. Ask a stoner coworker to help me bale the cardboard. He's done it before, should be no big deal. Tie off wires. Eject bale onto pallet. 2 of his wires snap and lash out. Completely destroy a box of flour. Dude was standing about a foot to the right of where the wire lashed. Spotted by management. Mandatory safety training on how to bale cardboard the next week.
Not my story. It happened to a friend of mine. He tells this story frequently. On a fruit orchard. It's harvest season. A big-ass machine with open belts and pulleys is used for processing fruit for transport. Hire lots of migrants for harvest. One of the migrants gets injured on a big-ass machine. He lost his finger. I show up and ask what the hell happened. Machine still running. Second migrant says.
Sir, he goes like this.
Migrant sticks his fucking hand in the machine. Second migrant is now missing a finger.
I have an orchard story told to me by a coworker. A boomer coworker in the 1970s. Starts out his career being a forklift mechanic. Not long after he starts, there's an opening for a road technician because one is out on permanent medical disability. A guy was working on a forklift at an orchard. Had the mast extended and was lubricating the mast. Notices a fitting leaking at the bottom of one of the hydraulic rams. Decides to tighten it. As soon as he puts a wrench to it, the fitting snaps off. The guy didn't have any safety chains or supports on the mast. Mast slams down and crushes the guy. One of the farm hands who was about to leave for the day decides to check out that noise. Finds forklift tech pinned under the mast, weakly gasping for help. The guy rallies the rest of the workers and they lift up on the mast enough to pull the guy out while the owner calls the paramedics. I always safety chain my shit when I was working on it, even if it slowed down the work. Fuck getting killed just to save the company money.
Sad related story from the 90s. Nasty local lake is heavily polluted by industrial runoff. Kills almost all the fish. Horrible sewage smell, yearly algae blooms, just a generally shitty lake. The local parks authority raises funds to restore the local lake to a somewhat clean state. Big project, going to drain and divert the water and dredge the entire lake. The goal was to remove thousands of tons of contaminated sediment. Reintroduce game fish into the lake and make repairs to the 100-year-old dam. Dive crew hired to repair the floodgates on the dam so that water can flow appropriately. Diver about 10 to 15 feet underwater clearing debris from the floodgates when he suddenly gets pinned against the gate by steep undercurrents. Likely because he freed debris that caused water to suddenly flow. Rescue crews desperately try to free him by opening the gate further. Ends up sucking him into the small dam channel where he drowns or gets crushed by freezing cold. Disgusting water. Body found a few days later downriver. It's been about 25 years and being near that dam still gives off major creepy vibes.
People getting pinned to stuff underwater just reminds me of the Virginia Graham Baker Safety Act. People die every year getting stuck against water intake grates at the bottom of pools. Everybody shrugs and moves on with life. The niece of a former Secretary of State gets sucked against the grate at the bottom of his hot tub. The suction force is so strong the drain shattered when they finally freed her post-mortem. Another girl falls onto a pool drain in Minneapolis and gets partially disemboweled by the suction pulling most of her intestines out her rectum, dies from surgical complications months later. All of a sudden now they're going to do something about these dangerous pool systems.
Apprentice Scaffolder. Waiting for my next job. We have these carts for transporting material from laydown to job. They're made out of the shittiest tubes and clamps available because better on the cart than in a build. Being a dumbass, smacking the wedges with my hammer, not really paying attention. Stand in the line of fire while hitting a wedge. Hammer ricochets right back into my eye socket, millimeters from hitting my eyeball. Oh fuck, what the fuck have I done to myself? Maybe it's not so bad, maybe I can cover this up. Feel eye socket. Blood all over the hand and can feel it leaking now. Go to the foreman. His facial expression is pick related.
What the fuck did you do?
No safety glasses on either because this place was hot and humid as fuck and we were just standing around waiting. I have to go to first aid then to the hospital for stitches. I have a pretty cool scar from it, at least. But that was definitely one of the most stupid things I've ever done. Ever since then, I wore my safety glasses at work no matter what. Wear your fucking PPE and don't stand in the line of fire. This sort of shit happens in the blink of an eye. No pun intended.
Buy a new house. Previous homeowner fucking loved 4-inch torque screws. Finding those fuckers by the handful everywhere. In the driveway. In every single crack in the driveway. All over the garage. holding up lightweight particle board cabinets that also had 6-inch screws. The same fucking ones you use for your deadbolt lock plate so your door doesn't get kicked in. Random shit screwed into the walls. Stair railing. The fucking screw you used to hang smoke detectors. Also painted over any remaining screws, leaving me to guess what type they are. Empty fluorescent tube light housing. Has 5 screws. In order: Torx, Phillips, Phillips, Torx, Phillips. Decide fucking I'll go do outdoor projects instead. A half-finished walkway needs to be removed and done differently. Big fucking Shockmore 4-inch Torx screws all over the ground. Dig up grass to place stepping stones. There's fucking screws under the roots of the grass. I'm about to lose my fucking mind.
Be me. I have a degree in cybersecurity. Did a job as a network admin. Great. Have to do physical labor by installing new TVs and other electronics. Not so great. I literally know nothing about mounting stuff on walls. Never used a stud finder before. The boss tells me to take down old electronics on the wall and mount a 75-inch 4 Kelvin TV on the wall. The clock on the wall had an outlet with no cover on it, and it was jutting out far enough that the TV wouldn't mount. Go to unscrew it with a power drill. Heard a loud pop and blinded a flash, freaked out and threw the power drill. The outlet was live and I didn't realize it and nearly electrocuted myself. Look and see, I threw the power drill on the TV. Screen is ruined. Boss walks in, asks what the fuck happened. I explain I nearly self-ended myself and he cuts me off and got mad that I broke the TV. He grabs the power drill and it isn't working either. It yelled it again for that. Says he is deducting the power drill and TV out of my pay. I really don't get why they have me doing this shit or why they expected me to know what I'm doing.
What the fuck is wrong with you, dude? Since I got my software engineering degree, I systematically refuse to even carry my own fucking laptop, let alone do any form of manual labor on principle alone. If somebody deducted shit from my pay, they would be looking at fucking lawsuit paperwork within minutes. Grow a fucking spine.
Grow a fucking spine. The fuck, son? Learn the I don't know how excuse. I looked my boss in the face and told him I don't know how when he asked me to put together an IKEA desk. It probably would have taken 30 minutes tops, but I didn't want to fucking do it. He got pissed off, told me it has instructions so simple a fucking child could do it, and I just shrugged and said never been taught how to put together furniture. Who is taking responsibility if I fuck it up? Not me, and he was pretty pissed off with me, but he shut up and put it together himself. And also stopped asking me to do stupid bullshit that wasn't my job.
Be me. First internship out of school at a local power plant. Working with the engineering group. Doing some mundane shit at the plant one day when I hear a massive explosion. Alarms start going off. Oh fuck. I think the steam pressure blew up the deaerator or something. Similar event happened recently. Thankfully no one was around for that. Certainly would have died. Not the case this time. 2 contractors had driven their work truck with the boom extended under some high voltage power lines. 200 kilovolt plus transmission lines hit boom. The truck is vaporized. 2 carbonized corpses sitting inside. Truck's utterly unrecognizable. Never was picked up by the local news if I remember right. All sorts of crazy stories in public utilities. I'll share a few more. Didn't experience this firsthand, but learned during safety training. Some background. The boiler at a coal-fired power plant is fuck huge, 4+ stories. At the very top sits the deaerator. Steam drum and superheater piping. Basically it separates steam from water. Pushes steam to the superheater. And the water back to the boiler to turn into steam. Until recently, very little in the way of sensors exist to monitor conditions outside the top of the boiler. This area is known as the penthouse, doghouse, and gets super fucking hot from the massive boiler inside it. With personal protective equipment and short-term exposure, there's no issue. Unless something goes wrong. Now for the horrible bit. Some coal plant operators notice steam pressure in superheater piping is much lower than expected. This causes reduced efficiency. Gotta figure out what's going on and fix it. This is like the 80s, so there aren't remote cameras at the top. You literally have to dispatch a legman to know what's going on. Because these things are so tall. Most people take the service elevator to the top. Foreman and legman get into the elevator. Start heading to top floor. Begin hearing roaring sounds as they get closer and closer to the top. The elevator starts heating up. Oh god no. Doors open. A wave of superheated boiler steam hits them, instantly cooked alive. What had happened was there was a leak in the steam piping for the boiler. A big one. The penthouse filled with superheated steam which wasn't sufficiently vented by the open windows. Ventilation at the top because it's not designed to deal with that. The roar they were hearing was the steam escaping. And they were cooked instantly by 200 plus Fahrenheit steam.
You left out the part where the company blamed one of the workers.
If memory serves. They didn't realize what the roar was before the doors opened and the steam hit them, by which time it was far too late. Keep in mind that power plants are always super fucking noisy. Like the pulverizer. Coal crusher in that picture. Yeah. Effectively how it works is it's a big spinning funnel with a ton of bowling balls inside. As coal is fed in, the bowling balls smash into it at super high speeds and break it into pulverized dust for the burners. There are also things like steam lances, which is probably what they thought the sound was. How these work every now and then this lance is pushed into the boiler and some steam is diverted to blow the accumulated slag from the pipes on the inside of the boiler to improve efficiency. These operated on fairly regular schedules. But if necessary, individual ones can be deployed. They sound very similar to a steam leak because they are literally shooting steam. Pick-related, Akasoot blowers. Pick-related, inside of a pulverizer, mill. You need hearing protecting if you're even on the same floor as these fuckers.
Not me, but I witnessed it. Basically, me and my dad were at our countryside property. He was using lime and concrete to build this wall. He took one of those 20-kilogram lime bags. For some reason, he accidentally dropped it. When he dropped it, he immediately went to pick it up without thinking. That's when he fucked up. The lime, being thin powder, shot up in the air. He wasn't wearing glasses, so all the lime went onto his face and got into his eyes. As you know, lime becomes acid with water, so they were burning, and he was on the verge of crying from the pain and because he feared he was going blind. Immediately called the neighbor for some eye drops and then immediately went to the ER. Luckily, he only got a minor scratch on the white part of the eye. Always wear safety glasses, kids.
A series of new apartment buildings go in as we finish renovating older ones, same owners. Cold snap comes and the sprinkler system in the attic of half the new buildings blows and ruins 4 floors in each building. Fix the damage. Get a call a few months later. Owners got a $40,000 water bill from the city. They send a maintenance person into the pool house nobody had been in since October. A pipe had burst and had been spraying water unchecked for 3 months straight. The mechanical room is unsalvageable. More money for us, I guess.
I work as an environmental microbiologist. Do indoor air quality samples routinely. Get called in for sampling in a hangar that has been remodeled to house various machinery, mostly biomedical, and have desk space. Occupants complaining of visible mold. Arrive on site. The hangar has old asbestos ceiling tiles showing visible black mold growth. Collect a few liters of air onto an inhibitory mold agar using an air sampler. Collect a few swab samples. Notice a foul putrid smell but can't seem to figure out what it is. Leave, incubate, analyze results. Mold levels off the charts. 20 times more mold present in the building than outdoors. Return to the building wearing a respirator and gown. Remove a ceiling tile to see if there's mold growth above the ceiling. Horrified by the sight. The hangar must have been leaking water down into the ceiling tiles in a very fine mist that caused an inch-thick blanket of mold to grow on the top side of all the ceiling tiles. Amidst the mold were 3 dead birds that were rotting next to a concrete support beam. Start exploring the building more, looking for more damage. Take water samples, bacterial swabs, cut out floor tiles, etc. The water to all the sinks was completely contaminated with coliforms. The floor had mold seeping up from beneath the floor tiles, etc. The place was a huge fucking mess. In the end, the Air Force was so haunted by the results that they demolished the entire building and claimed it was a biohazard. Never did find out what happened to the 9 people that worked inside that building for 3 years.
Be me. System admin at some letter salad in somewhere forgotten by God. The data center was a backroom that gradually came to house the racks one by one. All electric and data lines had been put in one by one and no one had bothered to document anything. Replacing and documenting the new electric lines. Ask Eddie, part of the crew which had been working there ab urb candida, to take down all old power circuits. Get behind the racks. Dike the connector off an old power line to snake it out. Sparks and a bang. Look at Dike, a blade is missing a good millimeter-sized chunk. Sit on my ass against the wall behind the racks. contemplate how long will it take until people cared if I started butchering this with a screwdriver. Knowing him, both the old and new crews would have just joined in without asking the reason. Did you take down all the old board down, Eddie?
Well, Anon, maybe I thought a couple of circuits weren't coming into the room, but it sounded like the breaker worked and tripped.
He's smirking like a dumbass who thinks he's right. Why are we replacing the lines, Eddie?
You are replacing the lines because you don't know which is which. We've been doing this all decade,
And you know which is which, so you only switched off what came into the room, and I didn't just like a live line, right? Show him the crusty old dike with a shiny new nick.
Okay, Anon, accidents happen.
Don't worry, Eddie. Here, you go on and cut off the old circuits while I go and make sure.
Everything's turned off just for safety. After all, you know which wires are live because you know which is which, right?
Hand him the dike. His face gets the same dirty, dusty white as the wall. Go to the zone board and effectively all the lines were either down or tripped. Get out of sight with the excuse of checking the main board. Actually make and drink coffee. Go to data center. He is still standing pale. Hasn't cut a single line. It's okay, Eddie, I made sure everything's down. You can go on. Now, why have you not cut anything? I thought you knew all the lines were safe. His color slowly returns.
I just didn't want to argue.
Don't worry, everything's down now. Grumbles and goes on to finish the job.
Go for seasonal inspection of hockey arena refrigeration room and equipment. Notice a pinhole leak in pipes containing ammonia and brine. 300 plus parts per million of ammonia in the refrigeration room. Just turn it off, bro. Ammonia alarm was put on silent and machinery restarted to make sure the arena ice rink doesn't melt. Maintenance workers go to restart ammonia and brine pumps. Pipe explodes, releasing lethal levels of ammonia gas into the room. 3 dead.
Cutting sinkhole in Formica countertop with an old skill saw. Finish my cut, unclench my asshole and set my saw down on the floor. Guard sticks and never returns to position. 4 inches gash right in the middle of the living room laminate. Had literally just finished laying the laminate yesterday. Hit it with caulk and colored pencils and nobody ever noticed, but holy fuck.
Have a huge hydraulic press at work. I push out U-joint from drive shaft without removing the C-clip first. I destroy drive shaft. Push and press fit wheel bearings to VW knuckles. Wheel bearings fail within 100 miles. Buy a 20-ton press for the garage. Proceed to break my metal lathe countershaft. Ruin step pulley. Try to unbend a bend lead screw. Make it worse. I have broken and ruined more things with presses than I have actually fixed or saved.
Operating 45-ton overhead crane. Sitting in the cab. Unloading steel coils. Pick up 35-ton coil. Get it in the air. 8 to 10 feet above trailer. Ting. Clevis snaps. Oh fuck, I'm gonna die. Coil slams back on trailer. Bridge shoots up. Reeving fucked. Block fucked. Bradley grab fucked on ground. Truck driver shit himself. Have to throw over escape ladder. Take cab ride to clinic for piss test. Go back to work. Spend rest of shift writing paperwork. The Clevis was in use for over 5 years without any safety inspections. We now have to change out Clevis every 3 months. They send them to be magna fluxed. Same crane, different day. Nothing to do. Sitting in the crane idle. Watching the guys on the floor. See electrician. He has electric panel open. Panel is 8 feet tall, 6 feet wide. Election grabs screwdriver off cart. Sticks screwdriver in panel. See bright blue arc. Electrician flies across shop. Oh fuck. Call ERT. On radio. Go to ladder and down. People everywhere. Electrician on the floor. He is fucked up. Arm burned to fuck. Shirt melted to arm. His hair is straight. Ambulance shows up. Loaded up electrician. Left. Electrician is now on medical retirement.
Be an agricultural safety officer. Arrive at the site, enter the garage. Find a mechanic passed out in the mouth of a combine harvester covered in blood. After investigation, discovered the guy had gotten buzzed when working late into the night. Tripped, fell into the implement and impaled both his calves on the steel teeth. Please be careful, Anons. I'm tired of finding this shit.
Public sector employee. Have a work site with expensive equipment stored in a box. Box catches fire due to electrical fault when nobody's around. $30,000 loss. Replace everything the next day. Nobody really cares. 1 month later, we have a 2022 F-150 work truck. Fitted with a custom bed system. Driving one day when smoke starts billowing out the back. Blowtorch caught some lithium batteries on fire. Bed system and equipment totally ruined. $10,000 loss. Damn, that sucks. Be more careful, guys. Replaced everything a week later. Your tax money, gents.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.